After an extended winter break, we're back for the 2016 FF1M season and the traditional starting point of the Australian Grand Prix Round 1 at the Albert Park circuit. And as has seemed to have become the norm on opening races, I'm being joined by a fellow Yorkshireman. It's the shake and bake boss Courtney Cass.
Hey up.
And how do you reckon this season's going to go compared to your up and down season of 2015?
If testing's anything to go by, my engine is still a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, there were quite a few failures in Megatron testing, like particularly in the opening test, like your customer GRM that had about 4 failers.
Clearly they didn't install it right. It's not the engine. they just didn't put it in right. It's third-party issues.
I think Bottas had his failure right on his outlap as well. But it seemed to get a bit better at Kyalami.
On his outlap?
Yeah, on his outlap. It didn't... Testing, well, it's gone okay in terms of pace for you. You've got a good test driver underneath you, in the form of Nolan Bryant.
Alright.
Yeah, he's pretty quick.
Should I say about why I picked Nolan, or should I not mention it because it'll just depress AJ?
Well, you can do at a later point, but in the meantime, there's a look at the circuit and the previous winners. Last time out saw a home win for Daniel Ricciardo in the Andrew Racing. It was a bit of a surprise result because they had quite a low-key test in 2015, and it seems they've had a low-key one again in 2016. I totally forgot about
that. I totally forgot that Andrew won a race last year. Did he win more than one?
Just the one. And, well, anyway, here's the starting grid, and we've got Nico Rosberg on pole position. That is pole number, it says 25, but I think it's actually 30 with career pole, and he's got his best mate alongside him, Lewis Hamilton. Cooper Lee third, so both Mitchells in the top 3, and the first of the non-Mugen runners, Sergio Perez in 4th. Then it's an all-Exolite row 3 with Fernando Alonso and Roman Grosjean, and they've been pretty quick in testing, so it'd be interesting to see how they do in the season. There's last season's winner, Daniel Ricciardo 7th, and there's your boy, Sebastian Vettel in 8th.
Okay, not so bad.
And Felipe Massa 9th, ahead of Thomas Gonzalez in the other Tornado 10th. That's row 5, and then not quite together, but there's the other Meister of Kimi Raikkonen in 11th, ahead of Jean-Eric Verne in 12th, who I expected to go a little bit better, but...
Yeah, that's a surprise. And
Nico Hulkenberg 13th in an FJR which has not been very good in pre-season, really.
I'm surprised by the Gajera.
Down in 12th and 14th. There's an explanation for that, which I'll get onto in just a moment, but there's Magnussen in 15th, ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa 16th. And all GRN row 9, that doesn't bode well for their season, and especially if they have got an unreliable engine. There's your other boy, Itsu, in 19th, ahead of the debutant, Max Verstappen in 20th. One of 2 debutants, because the other one is in 21st, Nicholas Latifi. And Stoffel Van Dorn, 22nd and last, and Willows look as if they're struggling a little bit. They didn't show particularly good in pre-season, unfortunately, but let's hope for their sake that it goes a little bit better for them as the season goes on.
I don't know who that Max Verstappen kid was, but I've heard Nicholas Latifi's meant to be really good.
Yeah, he's some sort of sheep, isn't he? Anyway, 5 lights are on, and the 5 lights go out, and from pole position, Nico Rosberg has gotten away well, and the 2 Mitchells already side by side. Poor start for Hamilton. Cooper Lee looking a bit interested into the first corner, but it is Nico Rosberg who leads as we go through, and both X-Lights getting a bit interested in each other, but through the pack they've all got through the first corner safely, and one Pedersen at the front, I think the other one at the back, Latifi down to last for now, but through turn 3 where we saw Vettel and Hamilton have their incident at 2014, but no such problems this time, and through turn 4. There's Rosberg.
Nice clean start from everybody, no one upside down in turn 1. A lot of soft runners.
A few soft runners, yes. Rosberg took pole position on the mediums, and a little interesting thing about qualifying, 2nd through to 21st were separated by just a second,
really?
But the gap from 1st to 2nd was 3/4 of a second.
Wow.
So Rosberg this is his final season, and he's looking to go out on a bit of a high, because he's going to become some sort of public personality on YouTube, I'm guessing.
His career's over. It's like the meme.
Could be. So rounding the final few corners now at the end of the first lap, and a nice little graphic at the top. You can see some data. I think the teams will won't be hiding that, but it'd be interesting to see the top speeds around this circuit.
Tell you what, I like that Pedersen. A bit like Minardi style. Is it the Minardi?
It's a 91 Minardi, or early 90s Minardi that it's based off of.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, it's some very good-looking cars this season, as we see Robert Kubica versus Magnussen for 14th going into turn 3. They're getting a bit interested in each other, nearly contact, but Kubica taking that position. I'm not expecting a particularly good race for here because, well, I'll explain why I've not performed so well in testing, because I've not got a very good engine underneath me. It's recorded the lowest top speeds throughout the pre-season testing.
But is it reliable? That's the question. If it gets you to the end.
It may get me to the end. I did do some reliability. Not testing, but that remainder that we had from last season. That went into reliability. The engine I have developed.
Real men blow up down the straight. Real men don't make it to the end of the race.
Now, the actual testing that I've done on the engine this season has been ERS related. And read into that what you will.
Well, the ERS is mainly the main benefit is qualifying, is it not? Really, because in qualifying you run full ERS, if I understand correctly. So you
do, and manufacturers can run up to 100% of their race ERS.
Yeah, there's a specified amount for the maximum they could run. So there's a lot more at play this season. There's a lot more different things going on.
Yes, because customers can use some ERS as well, depending on how much the manufacturers set.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I was trying to say. The manufacturers can set the maximum ERS amount for customers.
That's Latifi versus Magnussen going into turn 3, and Latifi taking that position away from Kevin Magnussen. That's not good. So Jean-Eric Vergne now challenging Felipe Massa in this is Mugen versus Climax. There's yellow flags at turn 13, so who has gone off or who has pulled off the circuit with an issue? Is it a Willows, I wonder, because Magnussen went from 21st to 20th place. It's Verstappen out of the race, so one Willow's gone already. And there's a Tornado and a Meister sandwich going into turn 3. That is Gonzalez in between the two Meisters. So what's happened here? Max Verstappen versus Kevin Magnussen into turn 13. Oh, typical Max move that. And
he's taken out by his teammate.
Yeah, he deserved that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So Max Verstappen's debut in FF1M, very inauspicious because he's lost both wheels. So let's see up the inside. And well, they both actually brake too late. That's not completely Max's fault. And Van Dorn hit Max's rear wheel, and it somehow knocked the front wheels off. So how does that happen? Let's see that from Van Dorn's perspective. He's Yoshida in front of him. Yoshida avoids it, but Van Dorn.
It was switching with his rear, I think. It was actually in the front wheel.
Rear on rear.
Nah, I think it was the front. I think it did just like sort of skim like sidewall on the front. I'm not sure. But what I am sure about is that Max Verstappen kid is going nowhere if he drives like that. He needs to calm it down.
Calm it down.
If he wants to have a career.
Yeah, a little bit of Max Verstappen. He led the FF2M championship for a while, and then he somehow lost it to James Clark, and somehow James Clark didn't manage to get an FF1M drive, which is a bit sad, really, because he kind of deserved it. What we've got, Kubica versus a GRM going into turn 3. Who is he against? That's Sainz. Sainz on softs, Kubica on mediums, and they're still side by side going through turn 5. And there's a Da Costa getting into the mix, and if they're not careful, then you can see Hulkenberg making some advances on the 3 in front of him, but not yet. And Kubica having another look at Sainz going into the fast chicane. Not a traditional overtaking spot, but coming out of it. Kubica versus Sainz once again into turn 13. Is there going to be an incident like before?
Is he going to make that? Ooh, I don't think he was going to make that, to be honest.
Good effort, Kubica, winner of the last race of the 2015 FF1M season at Suzuka. Which was not a bad effort. From 18th on the grid, that was.
Yeah, maybe Gajira just don't really do ERS. That's why they're quite low down. So I was expecting to be right at the front.
Well, they don't do. They're not into their ERS. They do like the raw power and the reliability, but they tend not to develop the aero during pre-season either.
Do you not think?
No, because, we've seen top 3 on the grid occupied by Mugen runners, Rosberg and the 2 Mitchells, and Gajera somewhere in the midfield. They qualified last on the back row in the last season.
Yeah, he's on to your gi. You see, this all makes sense.
You need to be more selfish, Guy. Develop your car.
This is when Guy does a Hamilton and he pulls out all like the telemetry and stuff like that and says, no, look.
Something like that, yeah. Speaking of Hamilton, he is chasing Sergio Perez for 3rd place. This is approaching lap 13 now. And what can Hamilton do about the Climax-powered car in front of him? And Tobias did hint during pre-season testing that he'd had gone quite heavy on Er's development. Might have been why Perez had qualified quite high.
Vettel in the pits already, that doesn't bode well.
Everyone's expected to do 3 stops for this race.
Oh, okay.
So we've seen Hülkenberg come into the pits already, as has Jean-Eric Vergne. I think Da Costa's come into the pits as well. And out of the pits comes Sebastian Vettel, and there's one on Shake and Bake actually, which was, well, you don't know about this, but you should do because you develop the cars, that you tend to develop prototypes, and for this prototype, which was entitled the SNB14-NSFW, you have quite a lot of appendages supplied by Love Honey, and, well, Vettel reported severe vibrations from his appendages by Love Honey.
I think we left the settings on one of them.
Yeah, and then one of them fell off and got run over by Cooper Lee during pre-season testing, who he thought he'd hit a purple bollard.
Well, it was because he actually he ran over the Love Honey, what was it called? The Love Honey Rose Clitoral Suction Stimulator, which we're using to get underfloor error, but that was quickly banned by the AJFIA.
AFIA, yeah.
FIA.
Yeah, and I'm actually talking of Cooper Lee. He's got a new helmet. If we see it, it's basically a purple helmet. Well, it is a helmet with like kangaroo and wildfires surrounding his helmet, and that's because he's gone a bit political, because he wants to highlight the Australian wildfires that have been happening in Australia. And when asked about this and why he's focused specifically on wildlife, look, that's an onboard shot, but you can't quite see it. It's around the side of his helmet as Rosberg's just been jumped by Cooper Lee for the lead. That's important. Effective lead once everyone makes their pit stops, but that's, well, could we see a second Australian Grand Prix winner in as many seasons? Still a long way to go. But here's Lewis Hamilton, currently in 2nd place, still chasing Perez, and he's due into the pits. But yeah, when Cooper Lee was asked why he focused specifically on raising awareness for wildlife and not for humans, Cooper Lee said, and this is a quote, "I love animals, I don't particularly care for humans."
That's a fair point.
And as a result, he and Lewis Hamilton actually get along quite well. Into his pit box comes potential championship contender. Depends on how well Mitchell developed their car for the season, but it is clear that they have got quite a good car. I'm expecting a championship battle between Rosberg and Hamilton this season. What do you reckon?
Sorry, I was just browsing the Love Honey sponsors thing, so I wasn't really listening to you. But what if you did want to buy a luxury rechargeable remote control prostate massager? It's down from $79.99 to $47.99. So if you, like Cooper Lee, don't like humans or human interaction, you can fulfill all your needs there for, what would that be? 30 quid off. 20 quid off. 22. Anyway, back to the action.
Hamilton versus Alonso, both have made pit stops. It's worth talking about X-Lights because they look quite competitive. They did look good in pre-season testing. Yeah,
I think I need to turn the engines down from my side because this is getting a bit embarrassing now. I've got my engines, but they're faster than me, and the guy doesn't even know how to fill in a spreadsheet. Like, what's going on?
I know, this is unprecedented almost. But Alonso, let's see what Mugen versus Megatron's like as we exit the fast chicane. Has Alonso got much of a slipstream? His teammate's due into the pits this lap, as is Sergio Perez. So these are the last of the first stops taking place. And where's Felipe Massa in amongst that? He's into the pits as well, and we're expecting Magnussen into the pits soon as well. Magnussen briefly making it up to 9th place, but if everyone is 3 stopping, then should expect Kevin to drop down the order a little bit. And Perez rejoining ahead of Hamilton, but they take the awkward pit exit this time around, so is Hamilton going to get a bit of a run on the Tornado? Closing in a bit, but Perez, well, he's choosing to defend a little bit, and that's a position maintained for Sergio Perez. So now the race order, lap 17. Cooper Lee leads the race ahead of Rosberg. The gap is 1.8 seconds. And then this battle for third between Perez, Hamilton and Alonso. Hamilton beginning to pull away a little bit from Alonso. And Grosjean rejoined from his pit stop in 6th place. So we've got both X-Lights where they are at the moment from where they started on the grid, 5th and 6th. 7th Ricciardo, 8th is now Jean-Eric Verne.
Yeah, Verne's made a lot of progress.
From 12th on the grid up to 8th, so that early pit stop has done him quite a bit of good. And through the fast chicane goes Lewis Hamilton. He's in the slipstream. Is he going to make the move into turn 13? Perez choosing the middle. And that was well defended from Perez. But I suspect Hamilton, with what looks like a quicker car, might get third sooner rather than later.
One thing about Tornado this year, they've not gone for a real sort of blockbuster driver.
No, Perez and Gonzalez, it's more solid rather than...
Yeah.
I'd say the same with Gajera, like Vernon and Kubica.
Yeah.
That's more of a solid, dependable lineup rather than your... It's pretty much the opposite of your mantra. Number 1 and bitch.
That's it, number 1.
Into turn 3, Perez very aggressively defending, and Hamilton can't quite make it through, but Perez has locked up. Oof, that's nearly contact between the two going through turn 4. Now, is Alonso going to capitalise on that? Approaching turn 6, it's the end of the first sector point, and we're pretty much nearly at 1/3 distance already. And is Alonso going to have a look at Hamilton into turn number 9? Hamilton defending, and Alonso can't make that one stick. And we've only had one retirement so far, and that is the willows of Max Verstappen.
Yeah, no reliability-related retirements yet.
Not yet, but we are at just 1/3 distance. A lot can happen still. The thing is, I'm trying to remember, I don't think reliability was that much of a factor in last season either, but I mean, you did suffer a double retirement last time out.
Yeah.
At Melbourne.
Yeah.
Then there were a few others. But
what's holding together at the moment is, I mean, I have done a little bit of reliability testing.
Yeah.
Because the year when I won, I was actually pretty strong reliability-wise, and I didn't... which year was it now? 2014, 15?
Yeah.
I was pretty strong reliability-wise, and I thought, okay, my reliability's good. I'll tone down the reliability testing just a tiny amount. And since then, I've just been unreliable, and I've not been able to get it back. I've turned the dial down like a tiny bit, and it's just everything's screwed now.
Ooh, big lock up for Kevin Magnussen as he tries to get out of last place. And let's see that dreadful top speed on the FJR. As we see Sergio Perez, I think this is about to make his second pit stop. Quite early, actually. This is only on lap 20, end of lap 26 he'll be coming into the pits. So probably trying to stave off the threat of the undercut behind.
So they short-fueled him then?
Short-fueled him for the second stint.
To get ahead, I guess.
But through goes Hamilton, and then through goes Fernando Alonso as well. They go to 3rd and 4th place.
Oh, look at that camera angle.
Look at that fuel rig as well. Slightly short fill again, and that was about another 13 laps added on, so expected to come into the pits at the end of lap 39. Again, that quite early for a 3-stop strategy. Ricciardo's into the pits as well. We'll see the Australian drop down the order a little bit. As out of the pits, that's briefly 10th place for Sergio Perez. Let's see the awkward pit exit. Let's see Kimi Raikkonen, can he do something about Perez? He's going to amble around the inside. And is that going to give the Gajera an opportunity? That is Kubica.
This could end in tears. Oh no.
Now they seem to space themselves out somehow. And got more pit stops. And here's another one coming up. It's the race leader, Cooper Lee, who, well, he's on course for a victory, but still half the distance to go. He hasn't had a podium yet either, so that'd be a good boost for him. That's a slow pit lane actually, just 60 kilometres an hour. Usually it's 80. And taking the lead back is Nico Rosberg. As on go a new set of mediums for Cooper Lee. And away in 6.3 seconds goes the Mitchell driver. And still 21 runners as Alonso comes into the pits. Now, can Alonso do anything about Sergio Perez? Because there he goes onto the jack. Soft tyres on the Excellite. You don't see that very often.
No, you don't. I didn't realise they had those.
Yeah, I think Pirelli have been kind enough to supply him with soft tyres this season.
We make fun, but they're going to be a rocket ship on those hards. They really
are.
Yeah.
Alonso. Oh, dearie me. And spin goes Perez right into the path of Alonso. That is clumsy driving all around. And through goes the GRM of Sainz.
Does Alonso have wing damage?
I think he's okay, but that will cost them dearly. And that will pretty much cement Hamilton third place once he makes his pit stop, as Perez versus... And is that Ricciardo for 11th place now? Briefly 11th place. Going through turns 3, 4, and now into 5. So that was a clumsy one. Alonso did briefly get the jump, but Perez, well, what else can you say except that was a bit clumsy?
Bottled it a bit there.
Into the pits comes Lewis Hamilton for his second pit stop, as is Roman Grosjean. Rosberg staying out for the moment, so he's going to try and utilise hopefully a low fuel load for him to close the gap on Cooper Lee. And then once they make the pit stop, try and use the newer tyres to close in the gap on the Australian.
Yeah, because it's I always forget this at the start of each season, but it's generally the undercut that's better than the low fuel, isn't it?
That's correct, yes.
It's not like it was in the days of refueling in real F1, where it was all about the fuel load.
Grosjean's jumped Alonso for 5th, so that incident for Alonso has cost position to his teammate now.
Alright, we're going to see some fireworks here.
Yeah, potentially explosive lineup of Alonso and Grosjean, although this particular version of Grosjean tends to be well behaved. He's part of the class of 2010. There were 3 drivers that made their race debut that season, which were Grosjean, Hülkenberg and Perez. And they're kind of like... They've all done the same amount of races since then, so... I like to make that analogy compared to the snooker class of 92, but that's just me being a bit of a nerd. Rosberg into the pits for his second pit stop, and keep an eye on the right-hand side. Where's Cooper Lee? He's just exiting the final corner. This could be a lot closer than expected. Down the start-finish straight. That is Rosberg in front of him on the right. Just about exiting the pits.
I actually think this distance, though, might be beneficial, because it'll stop him slowing down loads. Whereas if he was right behind him there, he'd, amble a bit, like before.
Well, he's in the slipstream now, going into turn 3. Is he close enough to make a move? I don't think so. Rosberg takes the lead of the race. And can he use his new tyres to try and pull away a little bit? As Robert Kubica comes into the pits briefly from 4th place. So yeah, both Gajeras showing quite well in the race so far. We had Verne briefly in the top 8. We'll move back into the top 8. And... well, Perez has still got Ricciardo right behind him, so that's a battle to watch out for as Valtteri Bottas makes a pit stop. And this battle for the lead, Rosberg versus Lee. As they go down a fairly long straight, he's quite close. Is Cooper Lee going to do something about it? He's trying the outside, which is not the right line. I'm trying the inside, but trying that has cost him a bit of time, and Rosberg just starting to edge away a little bit.
Speaking of edging, I've got another Love Honey ad read.
And what is it this time?
I don't actually, I just thought that was a good segue.
Right, gotcha. Turning into the penultimate corner and then the final corner. And there's a potential championship contender who... he made his debut towards the end of 2005, but then properly made his full season debut in 2006 with FJR and won the championship. Since then he hasn't won a championship, but won quite a few races and taken quite a lot of pole positions in his time as well. 2012 he got 12 pole positions, I believe.
Oh, here's fireworks.
Here's fireworks. Grosjean versus Alonso for 4th place now.
I sense James Whiteley on that big red radio button telling Grosjean to get out of the something way.
Telling him that Fernando is faster than you, probably. Although, is that an overused joke?
What do you mean joke? It was a legitimate radio message. There was no double entendre to that radio message.
No, of course, Ferrari took that one seriously. But since then became a bit of a meme as Fernando Alonso takes Romain Grosjean for 4th place into the first corner. And he's 12 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. I'm not sure if he'll be able to close in the gap, but it'd be good to see him try. Oh, Grosjean off! That was very, very hot into that corner. Rejoins right in the path of Daniel Ricciardo. Let's see a replay of that. Locking up, well, just carrying too much speed, brake too late.
Yeah, just Grosjean'd it.
Into the gravel trap as Sergio Perez goes through. Now, that's the early final pit stop we were waiting for Cooper Lee. And he's got to do 16 laps on this final set of tyres.
And you know what? Still no more retirements.
No, still 21 cars running, which is quite remarkable, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of teams must have been doing some reliability testing, the manufacturers.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Exiting the pits in 6.5 seconds as Alonso comes into the pits. And turning right and keep tight for some... Oh, Perez off. Is he off again? Well, he's nearly off again.
I think he's held it, yeah.
And oddly enough, that's going to give Cooper Lee a run at him. Is he close enough? Or is one of the X-Lights close enough to Lee into the turn 3? No, not quite. It seems that overtaking is quite difficult on this particular variant of Albert Park.
Maybe it's something to do with the mod as well, the 2017 shape car.
Possibly, yes.
They have like the aero. Does it simulate the aero, I wonder? The dirty air? I'm not sure. Probably not.
Maybe not. But yeah, that's going to cost Cooper Lee time if he's going to take his first win. His teammates due into the pits this lap. You can see on the top the pit indicator as there's an FJR into the pits, as is Nico Rosberg. So that's an FJR, that's a lap down. There's some work to do. As exiting the pits, and I'm expecting to still be in the lead, is Nico Rosberg as he turns right. Yeah, Cooper Lee's miles behind. So definitely being caught up in that Sergio Perez, Fernando Alonso scrap. As Lee's about to put a lap on the FJR, that's Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg is making his debut with FJRs. Contact between... That's Verne versus Grosjean for 6th place. So that's an interesting, important move for Verne, as he's got the jump. And now Perez versus Grosjean into turn 3. And through go... Contact between Perez and Grosjean. And they are nose to nose. That's going to cost them...
French kissing in the gravel there.
That's going to cost them lots of time, but that's moved Sebastian Vettel up to 7th place. We haven't seen much of him, but he's into the points.
No, being very anonymous. That was just a bit clumsy, wasn't it?
Bit clumsy from both. I mean, Grosjean could have backed out of it and Perez could have given him a bit more space. And, well, he rejoined way down the order. That's 19th and 20th place.
Just sat building sandcastles, evidently.
Now, will he overtake the... Well, of course he will, but will he get back onto the racing line before turn 3? Yeah, so there's still a lack of power in the Judd-engined FJR, but it's clear that the Climax is just that much of a better engine than the Judd.
Is it Flintstone power?
Oh, Alonso out of the race from 6th place.
At least it's got some power.
Yeah.
That was instant karma. Yeah, there we go.
He might have actually been 4th place, because that's moved Daniel Ricciardo up to 4th, Verne up to 5th, Vettel up to 6th, and Gonzalez up to 7th. Massa
is
now
the
up
rear
to 8th.
wing still on there? Is it just the smoke that's obscured? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the smoke's obscuring that, but it's taken to lap 55 to see a Megatron failure. So
Clearly Whiteley was running it on 69 for too much of the race.
I'm trying to remember, actually, because I did the spreadsheet with him just to make sure they actually did the spreadsheet. He was running 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Should you be divulging this information?
No. So, Nico Rosberg going into turn number 9.
Oh, that's a worry, isn't it?
that you weren't running that much ERS.
Yeah.
Can you remember how much ERS you were running for this race?
No.
No.
I'll have to have a look. I don't know. I think it was more than 20 though. Which is a worry.
Yeah, I'm running the crunch setting on my engine, which interpret that how you will.
So crunch is in like not fully distorted, just a little bit of bite to it.
Yes, something like that. But it's 18th and 19th place. Not done me a lot of good. But I'm ahead of a Willows. That's something. No, it's not. So onto the final lap goes Nico Rosberg. Opened up a 6.5 second lead over Cooper Lee. And this could be his first win since Hockenheim last season in a race where, well, he shunted off Fernando Alonso at some point, allegedly, because there was some lost footage for that particular race. And funnily enough, Alonso driving for Tornado, I did have Tobias in the commentary box with me.
I think there was some dodgy dealings there going on. I think there's some behind the scenes agreements with AJ there going on. I think he was pulling a bit of a Max Mosley. There's some dodgy dealings behind the scenes. Well, not really Max Mosley. He never really did that, did he?
No,
more
Michael
like,
Massey.
Yeah, more Michael Massey. We won't go there. More
No.
like, who was that French guy called again?
Jean-Marie Balestre.
Yeah.
Well, the best decision's his decision.
Yeah, that knobhead.
Just half a lap to go now for Nico Rosberg, and this could be the start of a pretty strong championship campaign for him, because if he was qualifying quite a lot faster than everyone else, and it wasn't a straightforward race. He did have to battle Cooper Lee for most of it, but yeah, this is a very convincing start for himself and the Pedersen team for this season, as exiting the final corner, and this is going to be a pretty controlled win for Nico Rosberg, and this is a performance to be feared for the whole of the FF1M paddock.
Yep.
Because Pedersen are back in a nutshell, and it looks as if it's going to be Mugen 1, 2, 3 as well, with Cooper Lee second and Lewis Hamilton third. So 2 Mitchells on the podium. That's nearly as they were in qualifying, but Lee and Hamilton swapped around a little bit. There's confirmation. 14th career win for Rosberg, so not as many as you'd expect.
I'm surprised Lee ahead of Hamilton by quite a way as well.
Yeah, that was that bad start from Hamilton. Lee jumped him and then Hamilton dropped behind Perez, so Hamilton's race was kind of trashed by the Tornado. And they can see the rest of the results. Ricciardo 4th, that's a creditable result for Andrew Racing.
Yep.
Not quite the win from last season, but decent. And Jean-Eric Verne 5th for Gajera, and Sebastian Vettel points for Shake and Bake in 6th, with Gonzalez and
Maybe
Massa.
a minute behind though. That's...
Yeah, the Mugen is definitely the best engine to have, and if anything, the ERS reset, that's actually kind of spread the field a little bit more. That's a hypothesis, but who knows? I mean, and there's two retirements actually, Verstappen and Alonso, 21st and 22nd. But yeah, big field spread, like a lot of lap runners in this race.
Yeah. That's... What's the word? That's ominous, I would say. That's
Yes.
ominous. It looks like this might be... Rosberg might already have his towel on this championship, but we'll have to see. Mitchell looking good though.
Mitchell looking good. A lot of people were predicting Mitchell to be the favourites for this season, myself included, although I did put them third in the pre-season predictions, only because I'd overestimated them in the previous 2 seasons, so it was a cautious third that I predicted them. But yeah, Cooper Lee showing some good pace. That bodes well for Mitchell's season.
What happened to Grosjean? Oh, he ended up in the
ended up
gravel,
in the gravel with
and the other
Perez.
Exolite blew up.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't anything to do with me, that.
So Mitchell lead the Constructors' Championship, and they've been in FF1M since 2003 and yet to win a championship, so this could be their season.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, well, fair enough.
Yeah, it'd be good to see them win a championship. And
No, we must remain neutral. We must support Sebastian Vettel instead.
we must support the minnows. So that's the round 1 of the championship. We move over to round 2 of the championship. Of course we do. So from the 2 of us, we shall see you then.
And after round 2, we'll move on to round 3. And after that, we move on to round pi. And then after that, round 4. See you later.